Ding, 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 ding. Seconds out, round 5. Yes, I'm just taking over in these middle rounds, just settling into a rhythm, and I'm going to nick those rounds, maybe rounds 4, 5 and 6, but keep something in the tank for the championship rounds, because I want to come back strong. I don't know about 7, 8 and 9 yet. I'll have a bit of trouble. But you never know, do you? I might be against the ropes, but we'll see in coming weeks, won't we? I do feel like I'm having a bit of a rhythm now and getting into my groove. Get into my groove. Now, that's easy when you've got a really good boxing match to talk about. Remember last week? Talk about. Good boxing. Talk about. I remember last week saying that this has been the 4th boxing match that I've been able to say was good. That was Usyk and Fury. More of that in a little bit, by the way, because there's a little bit of something coming in to that. That will be about the business of boxing, of course. But the boxing of boxing was blooming good. And the boxing of boxing at the weekend was really, really good. Because it was Jack Catterall versus Josh Taylor. Now, it's the second fight. And in the first fight, Josh Taylor won by a whisker. And there was some shenanigans afterwards, and the British Boxing Board of Control, I can never say that correctly, the BBBC, the British Boxing Board of Control, not the BBC, that would be something else entirely, they called for an investigation, and Ian John Lewis, who was one of the judges, had a downgrading issue, I think, if I remember rightly. And there was a big furore about it. There's a big hoo-ha, hoo-ha, hoo-ha. So, the boxing of boxing is taken care of because we know they are similarly matched talents. The business of boxing was also taken care of, but not in the kind of social media scrum, you know, I'm a better boxer than he will ever be. Do you know what I mean? His kids prefer to call me daddy. That kind of nonsense that often happens. Or at the weigh-in, you know, there's a scuffle and they have to be pulled apart by their security. All that. No, we didn't have any of that. And the reason why we didn't have any of that was because we have a simmering enmity. Now, we've been waiting for some time for this. And some boxing matches, when they're not for titles and they're not for #1 contenders, they just are boxing matches we want to see. And that's the case here. So, it's like Amir Khan and Kell Brook, isn't it? Amir Khan and Kell Brook really wanted to fight and should have fought and did eventually fight, and we wanted to see it. That's the same with this fight. It was in Leeds. And it was superb. They were evenly matched. And I thought that Josh Taylor started out bothering Catterall a bit with his movement. But Catterall was the better man on the night. He was faster. He had better movement eventually. His shot selection was good. He was patient. Too blooming patient, I thought, actually. I think it was in the 10th round that he had Josh Taylor really worried. And he could have got him out of there, I thought. Or tried at least. Too patient. Didn't pull the trigger enough for me in that one. But he worked his way into the fight. He was just the better fighter. Not to say that Josh Taylor didn't have him worried. He creased Catterall late in the fight with a body shot. But really, it was Catterall who was getting those shots in. And Taylor was holding his hand too low. Not here, too low. So that it was always open for that shot for Catterall. Certainly in the middle of the fight. And scorecards were wide. 2 of them were wide. I think 2 of them were 1-1-1 to 1-1-7. That was wide. I don't think it was that wide, but I think that Catterall was definitely the winner. So boxing, the boxing of boxing was fabulous. It was a tight, close, no quarter asked and none given fight. That's fantastic. Remember last week when I talked about the great fight that was Usyk versus Fury, and then Fury spoke afterwards? Here we've got Bob Arum. who's a passionate promoter, and he railed against the wide margins on the scorecards. He also said he thought that Josh Taylor won. I mean, you know, Jack Catterall would be Eddie Hearn's fighter, wouldn't he? So he said he thought that Josh Taylor won. I didn't think that at all, but I understand why your promoter might say that. He also said he would never bring Americans over to this country again, as in the UK. That's where I am, folks, the UK. He would never bring an American fighter over to the UK to be scored by British judges. I'm sure that will change. But after the fight, that's, you know, it's a passionate response to those scorecards. And pretty much like the Fury stuff, that's what people are talking about. They're also talking about Eddie Hearn not really saying that Jack Catterall can fight big stars, you know, big boxers in his weight class. That he's really edging towards a trilogy, a Josh Taylor trilogy, cause it's one each now. So it's a rubber match, which will be quite difficult because I don't know how they're going to keep their balance if you do that. But anyway, I don't think that Jack Catterall is, it's not someone you say, I think he's world championship class. I don't think that's the case at this present moment. But it was a great fight. Just tempered by the business of boxing, where afterwards you've got both promoters, one being very passionate, one being quite cagey, both of them being reported a bit more than the fight was. Shame. Well, that's the boxing of boxing this week. Let's talk about the business of boxing. First of all, let's talk about where the sanctioning bodies are. Okay, first of all, the IBF will be apparently stripping Canelo Alvarez of his IBF Super Middleweight Championship belt. He's got a lot of them. He's got a lot of belts. I mean, he could have 5 or 6 pairs of jeans and he will have a belt for each. Anyway, any road up. I believe the reason why they have stripped him of that belt is because he will not fight William Skull, who, remember last week, was his #1 contender, is unbeaten, and with a name like Skull, he might have thought, I don't think I want to fight him. Who's this bloke? Jimmy Knockout? No, I'm not fighting him. Who's this one? Someone, Stevie Journeyman? Yeah, I'll fight him. I'll have him next. So, I think I reported last week that Canelo Alvarez had said, it was reported he'd said, didn't necessarily say it, that he will pick who he fights next. Yes, you will, but you won't have a belt in that. And I did say the IBF can be tough. Now, they can be tough, but not in the case of Alexander Usyk, because he has said, well, he's not said anything actually. What he wants is another fight with Tyson Fury. I don't think they will meet. They're going to meet in December. It's supposed to be October, now December. It'll be January and February and the 12th of never, I believe. But that's where the money is, isn't it? And really, he should have been fighting Flip Hrgovic, who is fighting Daniel Dubois this weekend, isn't it, I think? And it's promoted by Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn has said, and actually quite rightly, well, take the belt off him then. Take the belt off him. Because he should have defended it and he hasn't done. He's got all those belts. He's got a lot of pair of trousers and a lot of belts and all. And all. He's got buckles to spare. Yeah. So, he wants Fury. He doesn't want Hrgovic. Hrgovic is the #1 contender. And he's made his decision, I suppose. And unlike Canelo Alvarez, where the IBFs have really shown some cojones, or Spaldings, or grapefruits, if thou wants. Grapefruits, yes. With Usyk, they haven't done yet. I mean, not yet. It's early days, I suppose. We haven't had a week yet, have we? What Eddie Hearn has done is that he has being a good promoter here by saying it's okay, because the winner of the Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois fight will be the one who fights for that belt, won't they? So it really adds something. It's not just heavyweights who you thought were going to be hugely brilliant, who haven't proved to be hugely brilliant, fight each other. That's quite a lot to put on your marquee, isn't it? Quite a lot to get on. So, yeah, there's now something to fight for. So, Eddie Hearn, who I believe is a force for good in the roll-up part of boxing, is making something of this, and quite right too. Now, as a side issue, what the promoting bodies or the promoter hasn't said let's have another fight. No, the gentleman who is Turkey, I want to get his name right. I think it is Turkey, isn't it, his first name? Has announced when the fight will be. Well, I mean, I think the promoters and the governing bodies will they do that? Or can he do that? Maybe he can do that. It just seems a bit kind of business of boxing like. But then this is the business of boxing, isn't it? Maybe I'm just clutching my pearls. Oh, he shouldn't have done that. Could be. Could be. Okay, so there's the business of boxing in one way. Now, let's talk about the business of boxing in another way. I'm not going to talk about Ryan Garcia at this particular point. Phew! Don't get too excited and don't get too comfortable, because he will be talked about in a minute. It's impossible not to. Okay. Bill Haney, Devin Haney's father, has said that Ryan Garcia should be out of boxing. Full stop. Now, I don't think you get to make that decision, and he will be suspended. And I believe that the loss that your son suffered against him, and it was a close fight. Remember this. Ryan Garcia might say, oh, I knocked him down 4 times and I was completely in control. Well, it was a majority decision. So you didn't. I mean, having knocked him down 4 times, you might have expected the cards would be wide. That just shows, even on an off night, and even with a 3-pound weight disadvantage, just shows how good Devin Haney can be. And certainly in those middle rounds, he didn't half come on strong. So even if we're not taking the positive drug test, A and B samples for Ostarine into account, it wasn't as good a night as Ryan Garcia thought it was. However, he had been winning the popular vote, the people's vote, to use the Eurovision slang. And I am a Eurovision fan. Of course I am. I'm in the UK for making your mind up. Anyway, even taking that into account then, it wasn't a great night for him, or not the night that he thought it was, but he swayed people's beliefs into that. He has said, it's been reported, that a hair sample has not tested positive for Ostarine. Now, when it's also been reported, Canelo Alvarez was having trouble with clenbuterol, and I think it was, and we eventually came out with the tainted meat reason. I'm going to call it. I was going to call it storyline, but I'm not. Reason. Even when he was doing that, he was using, apparently, that same thing of my hair is completely clean. I use Head and Shoulders, so it's completely clean. Other shampoos are available. Nioxin, for instance, I use, like, I'm losing a bit of hair now at my age, at my advanced years. So it's something that's been used before, and maybe Ryan Garcia's team thought, well, it worked for him, and he's a big boxing star, let's try it. The only problem is, you can't test hair for Ostarine, is my understanding. So it's a bit of a, it's not really the kind of, it's a waste of your time, isn't it? It's a waste of your time. But Bill Haney has said that he should go out of the boxing world. Now, just give him some time, Bill, and you may well find that Ryan Garcia does that to himself. So in the past, and I didn't want to talk about Ryan Garcia, but he's involved in a couple of things here. It's been reported, and I have to keep saying it's been reported because you don't know. But it's been reported, I'm saying it again, that Ryan Garcia has had to backtrack because Logan Paul has said to the man, I'll go legal. Why? Because Ryan Garcia has said about Prime, the energy drink, which I remember when people were scrabbling around for this and beating each other up and that kind of thing. And it was it 25 quid or 10 quid or something? Well, I saw it the other day down to £2. And I've never had a drink of it, but Ryan Garcia will tell you that apparently it has been reported that it rots your brain, it can rot one of your organs, I think he said your liver, and he also claimed, it seems, that drinking Prime was one of the reasons why he tested positive. He's rode back on this now. But I don't think they're testing for Prime. I don't think VADA, the doping agency, are saying let's test for clenbuterol and Ostarine, and let's test for Prime, because you never know if he's got an energy drink in his system. It's 100% for Prime. I don't think they do that. So that's the first bit of Ryan Garcia. The next bit is the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight might be off. Oh, God, what am I going to do? Nothing. Now, this is what's happened, apparently, according to sources. I don't know which sources they are. I don't know whether it's tomato. I don't know whether it's mustard. I was struggling to get my sources together then. Couldn't get my sources in a row. I don't know which sources they are, but the story is that on an aeroplane, a doctor had to be called. Is there a doctor on the plane? A doctor had to be called because Mike Tyson had a kind of episode. And what they have said is, and they seem to think this is okay, is that it was very hot on the plane. And what happened was that he had a flare-up. Get this. He had a flare-up of his ulcer. Right. Now, of all the things it could have been, they could have said, well, he just got overheated. He was dehydrated, and that's what happened. That would have been great, wouldn't it? He's been training really hard. He'd just come from a training session. He got on the plane. He was dehydrated. He probably should have hydrated a lot better, and he didn't, and that's what caused the issue. He became a bit lightheaded because he's dehydrated. He's rehydrated now, and he's 100% Mike. But no, they said this is about his ulcer. Okay, now, I'm no doctor. Not after the court case, anyway. I'm no doctor, but I'm only joking. I think that if you have an ulcer, being repeatedly hit to the midriff will not be good for you, will it? That might disturb that ulcer. I don't want to see Mike Tyson, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, I do not want to see him throwing up bile in the middle of the ring. I do not want to see him do that. He's been passed by the Texas Athletic Commission, and he's got an ulcer. What? I don't know. I've no idea. But he's got to pass some more tests, and he might not be able to fight. But do not worry, because guess who has offered their services? Go on, have a guess. I'll give you a clue. His hair is very clean. No, it's not Canelo. I'll give you another clue. He doesn't like Prime. Oh, no, he does like Prime now. Yes, it's Ryan Garcia. He said he'll tag in. He'll do that. He might as well. He's at a loose end, isn't he? But it's supposed to be a proper fight, this. Proper fight. It's going to go on either fighter's record. So I don't know how this will be squared. I mean, you could do worse than bring in Ryan Garcia, because he talks a good game, doesn't he? And before promoters realise that actually he's more trouble than he's worth, which I think will happen. I really do. You might as well have a go. And you might as well earn some money out of it, because he's going to be a bit quiet, well, in the wrestling ring over the next few years, isn't he? Or next year, probably. The other person who said he'll fight him is Chael Sonnen. I've seen him fight Nate Diaz. I do not want to see him fight another MMAer. I just don't. This is one of the reasons, Jake, not Logan, Jake, this is one of the reasons why, as you said last week, some people don't think you're serious. Yeah, it'll be because of things like that. It'll be because you're fighting a 58-year-old man with an ulcer. That is why. This is the business of boxing, not the boxing of boxing. And I have to keep a view of the boxing of boxing, because if I don't, the business of boxing will take over. And I don't want the business of boxing to take over. Oh, God, no. Still, there is that great Catterall versus Josh Taylor fight. And there will be more fights to come, which will be great. And I probably will end up watching Jake Paul versus whoever it is. And I'll be talking about Ryan Garcia next week, won't I? Because that is the way these things go. And you know what? I love it.